Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 8 of the Abundant Mother podcast. As always, I am your host, Alexa Oliveri, and I am so grateful that you are here listening wherever you may be in the world. It has been quite a whirlwind in my household. The Oliveri household has been going through the roller coaster of illnesses and resting periods and wintering and all that is required of us in the time of January. So it is just such an amazing gift that I am able to be here right now as my two kiddos are tucked to sleep, snoozing away as I record this. So I am grateful that for this time. And, to give yourself an eye and an ear into what this episode is all about, it is about reclaiming your time. It is about finding these pockets of time that you can truly invest in yourself and invest in things that you care about. So it certainly does not look like the days before we had children. It certainly has a different rhythm and tone and feel to it, but it's all about being able to access these pockets of time. And today we're going to go through exactly what that means and how that is showing up in your life by hearing about some stories and things that are going on in mine. So I had a huge point of clarity the other day. And that is, and as it relates to a ballet class, okay? So I enrolled my oldest daughter in a ballet class about 6 months ago. And through the end of the summer, early fall, I was all into this. I was like, this is great. It's so awesome that she can move her body, feel comfortable in her body, give herself some different techniques to be grounded, play, meet other children, all the good things that we feel when we engage and enroll our kids in extracurriculars. And so I was totally into that vibe. And this lived on for many weeks, and then it sparked a passion in my youngest child because she and I would be the spectators of Sage while she was in her ballet class. And so the whole time, Summer is like, I do ballet, I want to wear a tutu, I want to do these things too, and literally would peer into the window throughout the class for those first weeks. And it was just so, so adorable. And I would nurse her and we would just kind of hang out there, and it was a glorious memory to look back upon. Well, now we are months later in this process, and Summer is no longer being nursed, and she's getting bigger, and her understanding is growing, and she's really aware of the fact that she is not involved in her sister's class. She's really aware of the fact that, there's all the little girls that are in this class, and she's the only one that's on the other side of the glass. And I try to tell her, your time will come and your time is coming, but right now we're here to support Sage. But she has so many emotions during this class, and understandably so. Just so many emotions that she wants to go in, I go in, and, crying. And it's like I'm, teaching her patience and empathy and all these great things by us waiting. But at the end of the day, it's really not the most fun for her. And I have been feeling kind of, I guess I don't even know if this is a proper word to use, but I'll use the word like drudge. Like this class is on a Monday night at 4:45. I pick my kids up from school and I get them all ready to go, and we head on to our next activity, and it just feels like a lot for a Monday night. And then by the time we get home, dinner is rushed. There's just so many things that need to get done between the time that we enter the door and get prepped for the next day that I just slowly, as the weeks went on, we're just like, oh, I am not feeling this. And I kind of had that in the back of my mind. But of course, I want to support my daughter. And if she truly enjoys her ballet class and, wants to continue to do it, then I'll continue to show up for her. Okay, let's just put it that way. But I was thinking in the back of my mind, I'm kind of over it and I wanted to take a break, especially as the winter came through and it's dark out at night really early and it's cold, and it's just like this whole thing about making sure we have all the things and the tights, and we have to get dressed in the bathroom outside of the classroom, and it just is a lot of things, okay? Or it feels like a lot of things to me. And it's our second to last class the other day. And I asked Sage, I said, Sage, do you want to do ballet again? should we enroll you in the next, session? Because her recital is coming up and that's the formal end of the class. Should we enroll you in the next session? And I just have to tell you how such wisdom came out of my sage, or Sage, the child that she is, not mine, right? She literally looked at me with these big brown eyes, looks up at me in the mirror and says, Mom, that's really a decision for you to make. That is a mic drop moment, okay? First of all, me asking my 4-year-old if she wants to do something or not is giving away a little bit too much power. I'm going to be real and coach myself on that in the moment. But I also wanted to get and gain understanding of how much she really loved it, or if she was willing to let it go, if she invested in other things. I just kind of wanted to have like this like back and forth with her. But her wise answer just stopped me in my tracks and brought so much humor and made me laugh. And I was like, it really is my decision, Sage. Thank you so much for reflecting that back to me. It is my decision. And as always, as I tell you when I share stories, they're relevant to you because you have been asking questions. You have been asking questions of other people. You've been asking questions of your children, of what you should or shouldn't do, of your spouse, what you should or shouldn't do, of the internet, what you should or shouldn't do. And just as Sage reflected back to me, I will reflect back to you. It really and truly is your decision. It's your decision to stand firm in. It's your decision to lean into. It's your decision to decide to play, to dance, to move. It's your decision to decide to rest, to break, to retreat. It's always your decision. And so I feel empowered, that I felt that being reflected back to me in my daughter. And I got a deep understanding from her in that moment. And sure enough, we show up at the class and I get her ready and she goes off into the class and Summer and I are there. And for the first 10, 15 minutes, it's great. Summer's sitting on my lap. She has a snack. She's occupied. Mind you, I bring other crayons and toys and, paper and all these things to generally keep her happy and at least engaged during the time that her sister's in the class. And she just wasn't having it by minute 16. And she was really upset and crying and she wanted to go in. And of course I was, holding her and carrying her and walking away from like the waiting room, which then triggered Sage to realize that I wasn't there. And then she came out of the class and she was inquiring as to where I was. And I just thought in that moment, yep, I'm ready for a break. I'm ready for a break from this rhythm and this routine. And I'm ready to try something new. And I also got the understanding and clarity that like I'm ready to be at my home more. And that is a huge realization for me because I grew up and how I bred myself to be was this corporate working machine. And I never enjoyed really being inside of my home. I lived in great places, great apartments throughout the years, great homes throughout the years. It's not even about that. It was just about the fact that I'm an extrovert. I like being out. I like connecting with other people. I like showing my kids the world. I like us to engage in different things. I like us to try on and be in different cultures, different towns, different communities. I think that that is the beauty of life and the quilt of life. And that will always be a part of me, this inner explorer, this inner connector. And I want that to be instilled in my children as well. I want them to feel that no matter where they are, they could find a friend and find the helpers and find their comfort zone and find their zone that stretches them and all those good things in between. And I've also come to the understanding that home is such a calming space for me to be in, for my family to be in, for us to connect all together as a family, for me to be more mindful about how I'm putting dinner together, for me to be more mindful about how we're setting ourselves up for the next day. And these are things that when I had one child, it never crossed my mind. I mean, I was taking Sage out to dinner all the time, or, I was like, okay, let's get out, but we'll stay out later and then we'll go to bed. Like, we don't really need to worry, or not even worry, but we don't need to prep for the next day. And now, since Summer is getting older and I have 2 children and I'm running a business and I'm supporting my husband and my husband's supporting me. And like, we're a family, we're a unit that I find so much more value in slowing down and engaging more in my home. And I thought, wouldn't it be nice on Monday nights to actually come home after the day and settle in and begin our week in a more calm way? And I thought, yep, that's it. So that was a total clarification for me that it's like, it's totally okay for Sage not to be in ballet for this whole next half of the year. And it's totally okay for me to switch up the rhythms. And it's totally okay for us not to be involved in all these extracurriculars and, have our schedules packed. That's how all of us were bred, right? Is like production, 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 work, work, work. In the Western society, it's all about that. And don't get me wrong, I value a work ethic. I think that work, it gives us purpose and it gives us value and it gives us drive and it allows us to shine our light and be ourselves. And I also understand that it has to come with a flow and not a balance, because there is no such thing as balance in motherhood and work and motherhood alone and work alone. And then when you combine the two, like absolutely not. But it is a flow. This is what I have room for at this moment. And as you flow down the riverbank, okay, this is what I have room for now. This is what I don't have room for. And you travel along this riverbank of integrating motherhood and your work. And it somehow works as I'm now recording this podcast at night, like I told you, while the children are safe and asleep. And I actually have this pocket of time to be in my work. And that brings joy to me. And so, the whole art of saying this is there are certain parts of your schedule that no longer work for you. And they might have for many, many, many years. And that's great. But you are changing and morphing into this new version of yourself. And it's time to reevaluate the schedule. So that was 1 point or 2 points of clarification that came to me with this, extracurriculars and not having to be all about production. But then I thought to myself, for the last however many years, I have put my children in gymnastics classes, swim classes, mommy and me reading time, a wonderful parent and child class that I will talk about in another day, because that's separate than an extracurricular class in my heart and soul. It literally has brought so much value to me as a mother and as a mother that wants to be also present in the home and engaged with my children in the work that unfolds in our home. But anyway, that's a tangent for another day. I really, really wanted to just reclaim the time for myself. And I decided that after I had put my kids in all these extracurriculars, I had not put myself in any extracurricular activity at all, maybe ever in my adult life. And my dad is a phenomenal tennis player, racket sport player, all the racket sports. He's like an elite player, and he teaches tennis professionally, pickleball professionally. And usually it's in towns that are close by to me, but that it would really be out of my way to engage in one of his classes. And it just so happened that one of his pickleball classes opened up next door to where I dropped the children off for school. And I just went, you know what? It is not the time this season for my children to be enrolled in extracurricular classes. It's the time to engage myself and enroll myself in an extracurricular activity, for me to be around different people, for me to try on a different sport, for me to move in a different way, to see a different scene, to get me out of my comfort zone, to switch up my regular routine. It's for me. And that was the ultimate clarifying factor. And so the message that came to me that's coming to you is pretty straightforward. It's a direct quote. I am not enrolling my kids in another thing until I do something for myself, period. I am not enrolling my kids in another thing until I do something for myself. I'm just going to say it one more time. I am not enrolling my kids in another thing until I do something for myself. And I know that this is so challenging. The amount of text messages that I get, clients that I speak to, moms that I encounter in the library and in other classes and places in life, there's tiredness. There is a sense of franticness. There is a sense of, I don't even have one moment to look at this email. I don't even have one moment to engage in this conversation. I don't have the time, period. And while that can be true in many seasons and days of motherhood, I am not denying that. I have been there and I will be there again. It is not 100% the truth, okay? While that may be true in some parts of motherhood, some seasons and some days, that is not 100% the truth. Yes, I said it, and we're airing it out. The excuse cannot be that we are too busy. The excuse cannot be, I don't have the time to join Abundant Moms because I don't have the time. In fact, that is the reason why you need to join Abundant Moms, because the Abundant Moms membership, the journey, will teach you A, how to reclaim your time, but B, how to engage in motherhood in a totally different way. Because we are so bred, we are amazing mothers, amazing parents, and we're so bred to want our children to have the best, to have it all, quote unquote, to succeed and to thrive. But what we have forgotten is that the only true way for your children to succeed and thrive is for the mother to succeed and thrive. If you are frantic, if you are overstimulated, if you are outtouched all the time, 24/7, your children will feel the same way. Your children will literally emulate the feeling that you are having in your motherhood. That is what's being programmed into them. Okay? So that is why this excuse of like, it's too hectic right now. I don't have the time. I can't even look at this email. I can't do anything for myself. That is old news, and it has to be, because ultimately our bodies are the masters of our ship. Okay. They are the things that carry us to and from. And if this backstory in your mind is constantly playing of, I don't have the time, I need a break, but I can't take a break, but I feel guilty about it. And oh my gosh, like my calendar, it's stacked. And how can I fit one other thing in? And then what's going to happen is your body is going to respond to that by giving it a break. Your body will develop a cold, the flu. It'll put you out on the couch. And I know this because I lived this. And so we need to embrace the idea of embrace the idea that work also integrates periods of rest. Work also integrates periods of caring for yourself. Okay? And so the things are hectic right now cannot fly any longer for your life. Take this as a beautiful warning, a beautiful sign that it's okay for you to take a break. And I know that you have been trained otherwise in your life. I know that your mom might have looked at breaks as lazy, or what's the point of it? Or you're using your work, or you're using these fast pace, or you're using the overpacked schedule to hide from something, from not wanting to get in touch with those emotions, for not wanting to feel, for not wanting to feel inadequate for maybe how you're showing up in motherhood. So what we need to do is take a nice deep internal dive as, why is your schedule so packed that you can't do something for yourself? Why is my schedule so packed that I can't do something for myself? And really truly ask yourself that question. Write it down, put it in your notes section, talk it out on voice memo, figure it out, because you need to figure it out before your body decides it's going to take a break. You need to figure it out before. I don't mean for this to sound like anxiety producing. In fact, I want it to feel the opposite of that. I want it to feel like, oh, wow, that's right. Like I do deserve this, but also it's necessary for me. And these are the steps that I'm going to take in order to arrive at that space. That's my goal. That's my intention on you hearing these words. Not to scare you, but to move you. Not to scare you, but for you to open up this space within yourself. Not to have you fear, but to have you question how you've been living your life and how you've been setting up your schedule and your calendar and what that all means. So I've been reading a book as of late that is not a new book by any means, and it is packed with wisdom about letting go of worry. And it's taking through, and I must say, it's a very masculine way of looking at it, which I'm okay with approaching life, from the masculine lens at times, as long as we're integrating our feminine and our motherly wisdom, which I innately have within and you innately have within. So this is how the beautiful marrying and integration works. So it's very masculine driven book about how to worry less. And one way that the author breaks down a way to arrive at that is to be very mindful. And in fact, he wouldn't use the word mindful. I just changed that. But he would use the word critical, to have a inner critique about yourself and about your day specifically. So the only way for us to bring awareness up as to what actually transpires in these day-to-day moments is to open it up and air it out and look at it. So for the last few nights, I have been taking pen to paper. I've been coming into my office and I've been looking at my day from an aerial's view. And I've been wondering, how can I be more efficient with my time? How can I let go of the excuse of I don't have any time and actually see where I'm wasting time, actually see where I'm throwing time away, and actually seeing how I can be more resourceful in my schedule and in my calendar so I can achieve all the goals, the visions, and the wants that I have for my life. And I can tell you that the first thing that's on my list, I know is going to be on your list too. And that is an overconsumption of social media. An overconsumption of social media. I have been consuming social media in a not the most positive way. In my mind, I am a creator. I'm here recording this podcast. I, create courses. I create different retreats and journeys, experiences. That means that I really should not, even though there's no such thing as should not, but I'm going to use this word. I really should not be consuming as much social media. And instead, I need to be creating more. And so while social media is a beautiful place to find connection and inspiration and community, it really can be a tool. It could also be a huge distraction for all the reasons that we already know why. And so I am making a critique of myself that, if I'm going to be spending time on social media, it's going to be engaging with my community. It's going to be with creating more, sending out more messages, and not consuming other people's stuff. And the whole message of consumption can play through in various levels and places of your life. The other way in life that I have been consuming too much is in food. And that has been used for me as like a numbing, a relaxation, an okay, a deep breath, or okay, I've arrived at the end of the day, here we go. And over the last couple of weeks, I have been very, very, very mindful of changing my diet, changing my lifestyle around, and changing my relationship around, yes, food, but really around the word consumption. because our entire world is meant for us to consume. I mean, think about it, even in the food industry. The biggest news that recently just hit was that the government put a ban on red dye 40, right? Which is an amazing, amazing, amazing milestone and accomplishment that is way beyond necessary. So, if you don't already know, red dye 40 is used in a lot of children's medicines, sports drinks, cereals, all these things. And it could cause behavioral issues and just health issues, overall health issues in everybody, but especially children, because that's who these, products are marketed to. And there's a Instagram account where this woman goes after various corporations, food corporations, and asks them and pushes up against them about why they're doing certain things and why are they putting certain things in their food that are not in other countries. And the answer to all of this is that because money comes from consumption. The more that people eat, the more money that they make. The more time you spend on social media, the more money that is made. The more time you spend buying off of Amazon, the more time you spend on Amazon, the more money is made. So our whole world is meant and is bred for you to consume more. So you have to be very, very, very vigilant about ways that you are even unknowingly, mindlessly consuming, and saying, okay, I'm going to take responsibility for this. I'm going to take awareness on this. And then go, okay, but you know what? For 10 minutes a day, I'm okay with mindless scrolling, but for 10 minutes, not for 11, not for 12. So you have to set in your own boundaries. You have to set in what feels good for you. There is no diet on this planet that is going to be the best for every single one of our bodies. There's no amount of time spent on social media that is going to be the best for every single one of our brains. There is no time spent doing anything that's going to be good for everybody. So this is again, another opportunity for you to look inside and say, okay, this is the magic number that feels good for me as it relates to spending my time here. This is the magic, meal that feels good for me, that's going to fuel my body and give me the greatest energy that I have. So that way, when my kids are asleep at night, I could find that little pocket of time, or before my kids wake up, I'm going to find this little pocket of time, right? So it's really about creating efficiency in our bodies, in our brains, in our souls. And that is what we have to do in motherhood, is be so, so, so efficient with our time that it's not even funny. It has to be a well-oiled machine. And it could be fun to arrive at that place. It doesn't have to be so robotic, because the fun comes from having the energy. The fun comes from tapping in and working into your passion. The fun comes from being able to run around with your kids and feeling playful and engaged in that instead of drained and annoyed, right? So that's where the fun comes through. So I really, really, really hope and wish that you can lean into how you can reclaim your time and what that looks like for you and the why behind that. Well, at this time, I have to be reclaimed in the form of motherhood because my dearest little baby is crying. She's not feeling the best and she just woke up. And so that is where this episode ends, because as we all know, motherhood comes first. And if you have not already, please, please join us inside Abundant Moms. Every single month, I'm doing group coaching on a different theme. You can come talk about the challenges that you're having in motherhood and parenting, in your relationship, and receive answers and literally receive the enlightenment on what to do next. What is your next best step? And in truth, you will receive that when you join Abundant Moms. You'll be connected with a ton of other moms who are working on themselves and doing the inner work just as you desire to do. So, as always, I love you so much. I hope this message finds you in love and light and peace, and that you have the power to reclaim your time, and you have the power to not enroll your kids in another activity before you enroll yourself into something that feels good for you. I love you, Mama. If you rate this podcast, you can send in your 5-star rating along with your testimonial to Fiona, Fiona, at Alexa, Alexa dash Oliveri, Oliveri.com, and you will receive $50 off any course in my world. I love you so much and I appreciate your support. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.